Αγαπητοί φίλοι και φίλες, καλησπέρα. Καλώς ορίσατε στην εκπομπή ΥΓΕΙΑ και ΕΥΕΞΙΑ. Σήμερα φιλοξενούμε τη life coach και RTT hypnotherapy practitioner Ξένια Οικονομίδου και θα μιλήσουμε για το στρες, επιγενετικές και hypnotherapy. Hello, Ξένια. How are you doing today? It's nice to see you again.
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me. It's always wonderful being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Ξένια, can you briefly explain what epigenetic is and how it differs from genetics? What's the difference?
Yes, of course. So epigenetics, it's the science based on Bruce Lipton's work and, of course, many other scientists in the past 20 years that proves how important environment is in genes expressing themselves. And that means that we may have the gene, for example, of cancer or a specific disease. It doesn't necessarily mean that that gene will be expressed just because a person has it. Epigenetics works and explores the reasons why some genes express themselves and some are not. And it proves that that even if there is genetic material, i.e. genes, for a specific disease, the determining factor is lifestyle and environment. And that's why we see identical twins that have the same genetic material expressing different diseases. Or another example is, for example, adopted children that do not have the same genetic material as their adopted parents, expressing similar diseases as the family they are adopted in. And Bruce Lipton himself proves in one of his research papers that genes are determining factor of about 2%. The other 98% is environment and lifestyle. And what does that mean? It means the way we think, above all, stress, diet, exercise, and, our view on life, what's stored in the subconscious.
Very interesting.
Absolutely.
Yes. Do you think, stress-related epigenetic changes affect also future generations? Do you think, is it possible for the stress experienced by a parent to influence the health of the children or grandchildren?
Absolutely, it does. And the reason for that is that children do not necessarily listen what we say. They imitate our way of being. And that's why very often what we say doesn't have such impact, because children are watching what we're doing, and more importantly, they are adopting our way of being, our perceptions of life, the way we show up in life, our energy, etc. Therefore, a stressed parent, by definition, will have an impact on the children. And because, we live in a time where we all talk about stress and it's so normalized, but we don't, it's like we have accepted it.
Yes, so you're right, because we usually, it's stress. It's just stress, but it's not just stress, as you said. We accepted it and we shouldn't really.
Exactly. There are so many talks out there around epigenetics, personal development, mental health, that say that since it's the environment that impacts which genes will be expressed and therefore what diseases one might have, And since environment means lifestyle and way of thinking, therefore stress, it's literally as if saying that stress determines our health, our physical health as well, besides, of course, mental and emotional. And there are so many things we can do about it, but because we normalized it, it's as if, living a stressful lifestyle is an accomplishment of some sort, yet it's the defining factor of our health, physical, mental, and emotional.
So are you saying that these epigenetic changes that are reversible? Or, I mean, can we reverse them, or do they have a long-term effect on our health if we don't do anything, of course, about it?
Of course. So, I mean, different people with, the same gene for a specific disease, some will develop it, some will not. For some, it will be more serious. So the genetic factor is one factor. The rest is emotions, thoughts, lifestyle in general, and so forth. So the important part to say here is that if a disease expresses itself and, we go about that has physical symptoms, like physical health symptoms, it's important that besides the remedies we follow and therapies that are around, the physical health, to finally address the mental and emotional factors that played a role in this disease expressing itself. And the best results, the people who have the best results in overcoming most diseases that are well known right now are the people who are including mental and emotional health therapies, besides, just medication or physical health, surgeries and so forth. Because the whole point is that since there is a disease that was expressed because of emotional or mental factors, mindset, lifestyle, environment, and so forth, which are all synonyms in a way, because, there is a huge overlap. It means that if the root is there, if the reason the gene was expressed, the disease was expressed that way, yes, the gene was there, but the reason it was expressed and expressed in a certain way, how serious it was, is still there, then just addressing the symptoms will, like, for example, if a stressed person now develops X disease, right? And then treats that disease with medication, surgery, and so forth. If stress is still there, it will still manifest one way or another. Maybe the same disease will reappear, or, other similar diseases, or, different types of dysfunctioning organs, or etc. So the whole point of epigenetics is to focus on how important us as humans is to address the roots of the diseases expressing themselves beyond the genes. Yes, we accept there is genetic material, of course. It's proven that the determining factor is environment and lifestyle. This literally means way of thinking, emotions, dominant thoughts, dominant emotions during the day, perception of life, and therefore stress.
Do we have any evidence from any, research, any, professors that they do do their research? So anyone actually did a research and said, look, this is what we did and we can prove it?
Absolutely. There is a lot of research around epigenetics. It started over 20 years ago. It's now becoming a trend, and it's also a discipline in universities as a bachelor's and postgraduate degrees. It's the discipline, the biggest name in epigenetics is Bruce Lipton. That's why I keep mentioning him. The best universities in the world address research in this area, and there is a lot of research showing that they take the same cells, for example, stem cells, and they put them in different petri dish, cultures, and they experiment with the environment, and they can see that the same cell, the same genetic material, in one petri dish it became muscle, in the other became bone cells, and in the other fat cells. I'm now referring to the research by Bruce Lipton. There is a lot of research out there showing and proving that us having genetic material for most of the diseases out there is not a determining factor of us developing the disease. The determining factor beyond the genetics is environment and lifestyle, and therefore the term epigenetics.
Right, Xenia, as a life coach and an RTT hypnotherapy practitioner, can you tell us how can hypnotherapy help in managing stress and potentially influence epigenetic outcomes?
Absolutely. The link is that since the diseases and our physical body malfunctioning in some way is mostly determined by environment, lifestyle, way of thinking, belief system. It literally means the belief system. Our belief system will determine our physical health, which genes will express themselves for the most part. So then it comes down to what are we doing for our dominant thoughts? How do we address the root? How do we even become aware of the root in the first place? If the root is a trauma or belief system registered in the subconscious mind at an early age, and subconscious means below conscious, so it's something we're not aware of, right? We're not aware of the thoughts, traumas, and beliefs in the subconscious mind. That's why modalities such as hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy simply means accessing different brain waves, accessing information of our mind that has to do with, that goes beyond the conscious mind, what we are engaging right now to have this conversation, which adds up to the 5% of our mind. The other 95% of our mind is the subconscious mind, things we're not aware of, traumas, beliefs, thoughts that were imprinted, that were registered, and that dictate who we think we are, how we show up in life, what we think it's possible, if we are stressed, if we feel enough, if we feel worthy of love, how we relate to others. And now with epigenetics, we see that they also determine our physical health. And therefore, with hypnotherapy, we can access these parts of our minds and have a dialogue with them, see what's there, become aware of what we're carrying without even knowing, what dictates our lives without us even knowing. And instead of feeling victims of our circumstances, finally go into the driver's seat and address these parts, resolve them, and most importantly, replace them with the truth that we know now. For example, something happened when I was 3 years old. My mom took my doll, right? And for me, it was registered that I'm not loved, I'm not wanted. So the event stays the same. We won't change. We're not challenging the event, right? But because we know that as children, the interpretation we give to events is by definition distorted due to the fact that we have no critical thinking, no filters, no ability to doubt and question things. By definition, the interpretation we give to things is distorted, yet we accept it as reality. I am not enough, I am unlovable, I am not wanted. And therefore, I, for example, might be carrying this in my adult life today. It might be showing in my physical health, it might be showing in my work, my career, my relationships. And unless I visit that part of my mind that it was registered, that, you know, if when I was 3, they took my doll, and therefore this is the belief I developed and accepted, and not only disassociate from it. For example, say that, yes, maybe it was appropriate for me to think that back then with what I knew at the time. Now I know better. I know that they just took my doll for whatever reason. So I disassociate from it, and that gives me my power back, the power that has a direct impact on my self-worth. For example, it's different to say they just took my doll from I'm not worthy of love. When I disassociate the event from the interpretation I've given it, now I have the power as an adult to imprint and register the new beliefs in my subconscious in place of where the limiting beliefs were. And limiting by definition means false. So what I know, for example, is that I am worthy of love. I can make my dreams are available to me. I am able to have a loving relationship, as all adults do, right? We know this intellectually. The point, the key is to access those parts of our minds that contradicting beliefs exist to what we intellectually know. Intellectually know means consciously, in the conscious mind. We need to bridge the gap between the conscious and the subconscious mind, visit and resolve the limiting beliefs in the subconscious mind, and therefore upgrade the way we think to what we know now today. That's why we see people, including ourselves, we know what the loving relationship looks like. We know what financial abundance looks like. We know what friendship looks like. We know what physical health looks like, mental, emotional health looks like. And yet we live in a world where we don't really do what we know.
So Xenia, I realize that it's very important to discover these issues first,
Exactly.
yes, and then trying to make the changes. How do you make the changes with hypnotherapy? Do they lie down there and do you talk to them? Do you tell them like, no, you are wonderful, and they have to repeat it? What exactly is happening? I mean, they've known for, let's say you are 25 only, of course, as you know, you thought that you are unloved because they took your doll, yes? From one moment to the next with hypnotherapy, okay, you're discovering during hypnotherapy, oh, because they took your doll, all these years, you believe that you are unworthy, that you are not loved, etc. So, and with hypnotherapy, how can you change this? I mean,
that's a great question. That's a great
question. Can I try it? Can I come to you?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the hypnotherapy is a natural state of our minds. Hypnotherapy simply means accessing different brain waves, and based on neuroscience, we know that we access different brain waves throughout the day multiple times, except of course deep sleep. We access that when we actually sleep. So accessing different brain waves is something natural to the mind. Many people sometimes ask, what if I'm not able to? You are by definition. We all are by definition. We go into hypnosis through simple visualization. It can be many different ways, many different ways. Usually with RTT, we use the 10 steps, going down the 10 steps. Once the individual goes down the 10 steps with our guidance, there is an exercise we do to see if they're actually in the state of hypnosis. And being in the state of hypnosis means the brain waves of the subconscious mind. People are fully alert, fully aware of what's happening, in full control of what they're sharing, and we are actually having a dialogue. We're literally having a therapy session while aligned and connected to those brain waves, because the information we're accessing is the information of the subconscious, contrary to the conscious, which is talk therapy as we know it today. Which is the difference is that the conscious mind is filtered by our fears, fear of rejection, fear of failure, the sense of belonging, to doing what others are expecting me to do so I can be accepted, the personality, the ego, insecurities, and so forth. And therefore, you know, it's what we put on to relate to others. The subconscious is not filtered by any of that. Therefore, the discussion we are having is based on our truth, what truly happened, how we truly feel, what the true beliefs registered in our subconscious is. So it takes, of course, a lot of honesty. And once the first step is to become aware of what happened this instant, as you say, and the connection, to make the connection. For example, to say that the reason I'm having trouble in my loving relationship today as an adult is because, like, it's important to make this connection while in hypnosis for the individual to make it. Is because this incident happened and this is how the event was registered with these beliefs. And then what happens is disassociating. So actually saying, while in hypnosis with the guidance of the practitioner, that yes, it was appropriate then, but now I know better. It's not appropriate for me to think and believe that right now, and it's time for an upgrade. It's literally like upgrading an operating system. And the way it works is that the nervous system is all about connections. So a belief system, a certain belief or a thought that repeats itself creates connections. In hypnotherapy, we challenge these connections. And the definition of being able to accept suggestions, many people react to the term, based on neuroplasticity, is the ability to change one's mind once they've realized that the belief they have is based on wrong data. They make these realizations while in hypnosis because they are faced with the truth. And then comes the time of, once we disassociate from that part and we consciously make a decision that, consciously, I mean intentionally, to let go of that belief that was keeping us restricted and adopting the new belief we know we have, what we intellectually know today, then it's the process of giving back to the individual the suggestions which we talked together before the session. For example, I mean, if during the hypnosis it comes down to I am not enough, I'm not worthy of love, then in real time I give that back to the individual, because since that was the false belief, the limiting belief, giving the opposite back, it means I'm giving them back an empowering belief. which they already know and accept intellectually. So I'm bridging the gap between what's in the subconscious and what's in the conscious mind. And most importantly is that, for example, a session of hypnotherapy, of RTT, we have the 2 hours of hypnosis, but we also have an hour before our session where we talk about how does life look like without the problem. And we ask the individual to define that, to lay down their own truth, what's meaningful to them, what loves look like to them, what health looks like to them. And then when the time comes for me to give the suggestions back to the individual, is what came up in hypnosis in real time, together with the truth of what the individual has already shared. So everything I give back to the individual is words and truths they've already shared. So the suggestion I give them back, it's their own truth. It's not something I'm making up. And the power of that is that the subconscious recognizes those words. It responds differently and better when we use our clients' words, for example, and phrases. So it's not something I've made up that they will reject, right? It's something they defined as important, and now they're in a place where they can accept it.
Yes. Now we have 5 minutes, Xenia. Can you tell us, are there any ethical concerns regarding the use of hypnotherapy in influencing epigenetic changes?
I mean, at least with the method, because there are so many modalities out there using the term hypnotherapy, therefore, as with RTT, rapid transformational therapy developed by Marisa Peer, there is a specific protocol we follow.
Okay.
And people can only accept what they consider truth. So there is, it can be that someone goes into hypnosis where they're fully aware, and I give them my truth and they will accept it because they were in hypnosis. They will only accept things they are ready to receive and consider truth. So that's why, you know, it's so important for people to know that they are actively participating in this process. It's not the practitioner doing their magic. On the contrary, it's everything based on science and protocols, and they are actively participating in every step. So the ethics, when it comes to what you said, impacting epigenetics, what it simply means is that if I have, for example, the gene of a specific disease, right? And based on stress or not feeling enough, or, you know, feeling negative thoughts and scarcity mindset, this gene expresses itself. What I can do, and the power of hypnosis, is that I can access parts of my mind that are dictating the way I think and believe about things in general and more specifically, and start resolving them instead of living a life of stress, of scarcity, of feeling less than, and so forth, that will inevitably lead to an expression of a certain disease, because the link of physical disease and emotional and mental factors are 100% linked. So there are different things one can do. Once the disease shows up, yes, of course, to go along with the remedies and therapies and whatever it is they're doing for their physical health, and most importantly, address the mental and emotional factors that are the underlying factors that are fueling whatever is happening. The other option, of course, which is, the best option, is to start working on those parts of our minds and ourselves before something negative or unfortunate happens. So the ethics of hypnotherapy impacting epigenetics is simply saying that with hypnotherapy, I'm accessing parts of myself that I don't know of, the hidden parts of myself, to see what's there that's not beneficial and start resolving those parts, healing those parts, so they won't manifest in a physical way.
Thank you. Thank you, Ξένια. It was lovely having you again. It was such an interesting topic. We can talk for, hours. Yes. And I will be more than happy to have you again in the near future. Thank you so much again. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Αγαπητοί φίλοι και φίλες, εμείς θα τα πούμε και πάλι την ερχόμενη Πέμπτη με ένα καινούριο θέμα και ένα καινούριο φιλοξενούμενο. Καλό σας βράδυ.